Hello, everyone. This is Tom Fox. Welcome back for another episode. I'm absolutely thrilled today to have with me Scott and Tanya Landis. I'm thrilled for several reasons. First, they're fellow authors. Two, they're fellow members of the C suite. And three, they're fellow podcasters. We're going to talk about all of those things and a whole lot more. So, guys, thank you so much for taking the time to visit with me today.
Thank you, Tom. Good to
Yeah,
see you.
we're excited to be here.
So, can we start off by each one of you telling us a little bit about your professional background?
So I started in the corporate world, worked for GE Capital for a while, right out of college, and then we got laid off after 7 years of that company, and I started my entrepreneurial journey. That was 2001. Got into insurance and financial services, and then Tanya joined me. She was from Intel before, so we both kind of had a similar start in corporate world. But by 2001, we were entrepreneurs and doing financial services and insurance, and then got into real estate investing. And then we lost everything in the real estate market. And then later on, we became a business coach and a health and fitness coach. And we've been doing that ever since about 2011, 2012, somewhere in there.
So I have had my own entrepreneurial journey, and it took me a long, long time to leave the corporate world.
Mhm.
A large part of that was fear. I was just afraid to. And I always knew that when the universe closed one door, it opened another. A second part, though, what I didn't recognize was you had to have the courage to walk through that door. And for me, it happened after a catastrophic uh, automobile bicycle incident where it was Hummer one, Tom zero. And
Mhm.
so, how do you help people to not so much to see the open door, but to walk through that door? Do you open the door for them? Do you put your arm around their shoulder and says, let's say, let's walk through this together? How do you help a person who's been in the corporate world like you guys were to really make that leap into the entrepreneurial world?
Into that.
That's a great question. We basically base it on where they want to go. It's all about a purpose-filled life. And we talk about this with our clients. Where do you want to go? Where do you want to end up? Is the path you're on right now going to get you there? For example, I had a conversation with a client yesterday who is stuck, for lack of a better word, in the corporate rut. She's got her benefits, she's got her pay. There's not much more opportunity for growth though for her, and she's very unfulfilled. And she had another opportunity pop up. It is an entrepreneurial opportunity. And she's, I really want to do this. I feel called to do this, but I'm scared. And we sit down and talk about what happens if you stay where you're at, and what happens if you open that door, and will you regret not opening that door? And that's really what it comes down to. And being an entrepreneur isn't for everyone. It definitely isn't. But for those that are called to this line of work, it's not easy. It's a roller coaster most day. But I just tell people, I'm like, buckle up and get on. And if this is where you're supposed to be, you're gonna have ups and downs. But so that's really how we walk with clients. It's dependent upon where they want to go and how fast they want to go. If they want to walk, we'll walk with them. If they want to run, we'll run with them. If they want to jog or dip their toe in, we'll do that. You're not going to ever push or pull anybody into doing something that they're not ready for or not called to.
So how do you, or what are some of the key lessons you guys impart around overcoming the day-to-day struggles? And whether that's a financial struggle, whether it's a supply chain struggle, whether it's a imposter syndrome struggle, whatever that struggle may be, do you have a process that you help folks work through struggles with?
Yeah, those are definitely struggles that we see every day. I think fundamentally, it's funny because the basics are so important, right? Tony Robbins says common sense isn't commonly practiced, and I definitely believe that. So a lot of this stuff is just like almost invariably with the people we work with, we start with their morning routine. And most people need to enhance their morning routine or take a look at their morning routine. And we ask the question, like, how is your morning routine? If things aren't going smooth as they want, we start there. Because the way you start your day is the way things tend to go. So we have a very disciplined practice, daily practice of a morning routine where we sit down, do some journaling, do some gratitude, do some maybe reading, feeding the brain, feeding the body, nutrients, get hydrated, come out of the gate swing, get yourself ready to go with a good morning routine, get the body moving, all those things. And one of the practices that I like to do is after I've gotten my mind and my body in a good place is think about the three things that that are the most important things to accomplish. And I'm a big fan of the concept of what's the one thing. There's a book, The One Thing. What's the one thing such by doing it today that all the other things won't matter or will fall into place? That's a great question to ask to get you focused, right? It's a focusing question. But I also like Ed Milet's idea of having 3 days in one day, having a competitive edge of not just having one day, but having a day that goes from like 6 to noon and a day that goes from noon to 6 and then a day that goes from 6 p.m. to midnight. Like you can have 3 days in one day if you want. And so that's where I get my three. So I think about the combination of those two concepts and what are those three things that day that if I get those things done, everything else falls into place. When I finish the day, I'll go back and review that, like how did that work out? So there's a lot of things you can do to address your question, but that fundamentally, that basic thing, day in, day out, the compound effect of that over the course of a year or multiple years, like it adds up to a lot of achievement and progress.
I work 12 to 15 hours a day, and you've now given me an idea that I can actually enhance that. I'm sure my wife will be thrilled. Let's move to the 4 pillars of fulfillment, redefining success. Could you tell us what they are and how you use those in your coaching business?
Yep. Do you want me to go? Yeah. All right. We basically discovered these 4 pillars of fulfillment after we had succeeded in achievement. I mentioned the real estate crash that we went through. So we were able to set goals and achieve them. And at the end of the day, we found ourselves unfulfilled. The process of discovery, we found that these 4 pillars kind of guide our lives now. Starts with vitality. So that the 4 pillars are vitality, relationships, freedom, and impact. And we start with vitality, and I already mentioned that in the morning routine. Like vitality is, if you start out your day with vitality, it's getting up, having good sleep, right? And then giving yourself nutrition, hydrate, do some stretching, get the body movement, get your mind engaged. So vitality is really kind of that piece of filling your own cup, making sure you put your own air mask on so that you can save the other passengers on the plane. So it starts with getting yourself ready. Did you want to add to that?
Yeah. And I think one thing to note that's important is we are parents. We have 3 children. All 3 of our children have been born during our entrepreneurial journey. So they've been on this ride with us. So if you're thinking, oh, I don't have time for that, I'm a business owner, I'm a parent, we understand. But if you don't put that air mask on in the morning and take care of yourself, you cannot help other people. And we learned that the hard way. And that's why we firmly believe like getting up, not answering your phone and your emails right away, having the phone on do not disturb, because otherwise you're starting your day on someone else's emergency. There's always going to be an emergency. Always. We've been entrepreneurs since 2001. We've owned 5 companies. We've successfully sold 2 of them. One, as Scott mentioned, was a complete failure. That was probably our most valuable lesson in entrepreneurship. And then we built 2 more companies, which we currently have. So we're not new to this journey. We have multiple things going on, 3 children, and we've been through all the seasons. Our oldest is an adult, and then we've got 2 teenagers right now. So we've had newborn all the way through adulthood. You have to work on your vitality, no matter what season of life you're in and whatever that looks like for you, whether it's, I hear people talk, a lot of gurus that talk and they're like, oh yeah, I spend 2 hours in the morning. We don't do that. I wish, but we don't. It's usually about an hour and we get those things in and we talk about it in the book. We also, the other thing is these, is relationships. Your relationships are so important and you have to work on your relationships because at the end of your life, it's not going to be work that's giving your eulogy, and not to be morbid here, but we just went through this, unfortunately, with some family members, and it passed on. And it can look very different depending on how you were there for your family and for those that are important. And I don't sugarcoat anything. I'm very to the point. So I always tell my clients, if you're looking for nurturing, you're looking at the wrong person. So I will tell you straight up how it is. But the relationships are so important. Scott and I, we've been married for in a week, and it'll be 26 years. So we've been together a long time.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And we've had many marriages in that 26 years.
Same person.
Different marriages, and we have to take that time to focus on each other, and it's just so crucial. And with your children too, it's really hard. We're both type A workaholics, so it was very hard for us to turn off that work button at certain times. But you don't have your kids for very long, and that's what I always tell people. There, you get them for a short time. We've already had one launch who's moved on, and it's like amazing, but at the same time, that time just goes so fast. And the third pillar is freedom, having that freedom in life, because we've owned businesses, we've worked in corporate, we've done all the things, and we've been on a hamster wheel sometimes. And we're like, wow, what are we doing this for? We're just on this hamster wheel, and we're pretty much like, all we're doing is working, and we don't have that freedom. And so having the freedom to do the things that you enjoy, something that we love to do is travel. We love traveling. We've traveled all over the world. We've taken those 3 kids with us all over. And that's something that's important to us. That can look different for different people, whatever that is, what freedom looks like. And also having that financial freedom to be able to do that as well. And the last one is impact. How are we making an impact on the people that we're serving? How are we adding value? Like, our goal is to help other entrepreneurs live out their purpose and be able to walk in that and impact those people they're supposed to impact. And so we want to equip them and help them, because that's something that we were looking for when we were struggling in business. And we were like, okay, it's not all about the money. The money is great, but when you follow your purpose, provision will follow. So those are the 4 pillars that we work on with clients.
I'd like to turn now to burnout. And I half-heartedly said I work 12 to 15 hours, but that's not half-heartedly. I work longer and harder now than I probably have at any point in my life, and I'm 67. I do that because I absolutely love what I do. And I can't wait. I get up at 4, have a cup of coffee, and there we're off to the races. I don't have to turn the phone off because nobody's calling me from 4 to 7. So that's when I get some great work done. But I hear a lot of people talk about it. I have burned out in my life and burned and crashed out in my life. How do you help people avoid that burnout, or at least give them some ways to see signs that they may be headed down that and redirect them going forward?
I know that one of the things we'll probably talk about today is our trimetric tracking system. What part of that is just measuring not just business health and not just leadership performance, but life quality. And the reason that it includes the life quality as a metric, and there's 7 different things that we're measuring there, including relationships, including your health, but fun and recreation is on that list. And you just got to be intentional about building in the things that create a balanced life. As entrepreneurs, and Tanya mentioned, like, you can it's tempting to get on that hamster wheel and just go and be busy at whatever it is. But if you're intentional, which it sounds like you very much are, Tom, you have discovered the things that energize you rather than drain you. And I think that's a very big clue to the ability to not burn out, right? There are things that if you're measuring what energizes you and you're aware of what drains you, there's certain relationships that can be draining, and there's certain relationships that can be energizing. And there's just like that, there's certain work that can feel like you're not working. It feels like you're worshiping. It feels like you are just like in the zone and you're just going with the flow. If you can discover that kind of work, then which it sounds like you have, Tom, that you don't get burned. But that's why we're so all about these 4 pillars of fulfillment as a guiding principles. But just an alignment to purpose. Like it always starts with purpose. Who are you rather than what should you do? I get that question from clients all the time. I don't know what to do in this situation, Scott. I'm always like coming back to them. Okay, let's figure out like, are you doing what you were designed to do? It's a who are you question. So once you realize, okay, here's who I am, here's what really gets me excited, here's what motivates me, here's what energizes me, and I move towards those things and I move away from the things that drain me, that's really core and central to it. And then from there, it's just measuring the things that, to avoid going too deep into one thing, right? You can go too deep into creating money, and spending time on that, and then lose track of having fun and recreation and hanging out with your family. So measuring all these things and being intentional about them, the combination of those principles really helps you work those things out. That's what I've found.
Is there an age that people tend to get burned out, or it really can happen for a variety of reasons that you've articulated at any age, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, or even beyond?
The way that we've done life, I would associate burnout with a couple of stages of the family rather than the age. I just turned 50, so I've only experienced to that number. But in that time, we've had babies and toddlers and teenagers a few times. And
3 times.
we sometimes joke that the teenage years can be about probably the most stressful, because we remember those, we call it the zombie years, right? Between born and kindergarten, there's like that period of time where you're changing diapers in the middle of the night.
You're not sleeping.
You're chasing around toddlers. Yeah, you're not sleeping and you're just constantly pouring out on this human. And if you've got multiple humans, multiply that factor, right? Well, once they go to kindergarten, they start going to school, you find yourself with a little reprieve. But that time period certainly is a place where you want to maybe be more mindful about potential burnout, especially as entrepreneurs, especially as parents. And then those teenage years come around and you're like, wow,
They're mentally exhausting.
the diaper years have nothing on this teenage mind control. Like, gosh, these kids, they can really, it's a mind emotion warp. So that's another area where you might need some extra help and counseling or whatever.
Yeah. What do you do is for that?
Could you say a few words about the fitness part?
Yeah.
Yes, and if you want to include psychological, spiritual, emotional, any of that, but really you help people focus on fitness, and why is that part of health so critical to the entire journey?
Because if you don't have your health, how are you supposed to work? How are you supposed to take care of your family? As Scott mentioned, I worked for Intel. I was recruited out of college, thought had made it. Great job, great benefits, great pay. But I got there and I was working round the clock. I was getting up at 4 and going to work and coming out in the dark. And here I was in my 20s and I ended up with a stomach ulcer. And I just kept going to the doctor and I'm like, what can you give me? What can you help me with? I need this to go away because I need to work. And finally he just looked at me and said, Tanya, you need to take better care of yourself. Like, you're living out of a vending machine. Like, I was getting coffee from the vending machine at work. And I was just in a zone. And I realized, like, I need to start taking care of myself. And I've seen it with many of the people I've worked with over the years. So I started with just making sure that I was getting in movement every day, getting in a workout, whatever that looked like. If it was at home, if it was at the gym, if it was a walk, actually drinking water during the day, because that wasn't something I was really good at. I was just drinking coffee and soda. And what I find with people is that what you're feeding your body and giving your body will reflect to the outside world. So it's not about being skinny or being super fit. It's about health and just taking care of yourself so that you can manage your energy. Because a lot of entrepreneurs, it's energy management, especially if you're balancing other things like family and children, your spouse, relationships, things like that, your clients. You need to be able to manage your energy. So I teach people, of course, whenever I learned about something, I have to become like proficient in it. So and went in and became a fitness instructor, started training people, like became an expert in nutrition, all the things, and trained in somatic. The body really does. It does keep score. If you are holding on to a lot of things, a lot of stress, it's going to come out and it can take you down. And that's what we want to help prevent. So just helping people, making sure they're eating during the day while they're working. So when they're sitting at their desk or they're on the phone with clients, they're getting in proper nutrition and things like that. And I work with some of the busiest people there are. I worked with everyone from doctors, nurses. I've got people that work up on the Capitol, like all over the map, CEOs of huge corporations. I worked with them, and it's always the same. It's stress, and that's what can really hold you back, and just helping them find a routine, fitness and nutrition wise, that meets the season of life that they're in. It really will help with energy management so that they can do the things they're supposed to do.
Yeah, and when I was around 40-ish, I started thinking, gosh, I was hanging out with Tanya, learning all this health and fitness stuff and doing pretty good, getting the shape of my life, and started bragging about how I was going to live to 120 at least. And this, like, why age? Aging, like one of our mentors says, aging was for dummies or something like that. But I got a wake up call one day. I woke up with almost the inability to move. There was a time where it was difficult for me to pick up a glass off the table, to walk up and down stairs, get out of a car, to barely walk. And definitely running wasn't on the docket. So I got a wake up call around 42, and I just woke up one day and I wasn't able to move. I have spent the last 7-8 years on a regaining my health journey. So we also have a lot of empathy for people who are dealing with chronic illness, chronic pain, autoimmune issues. And I thank God that I went through that journey, because I didn't understand that before. And now I really do. And the mindset is really a challenging piece when it comes to health and fitness. Being able to set your mind to be able to be the best version of yourself health-wise, even given limitations. That's what the journey I've been through. And now just turning 50, I'm coming back to the idea I think I can actually live to 120 if I really work at it and I do some things intentionally. But there's a time where I was like, I don't know if I'm going to make 50. I was really in bad shape. And really it's mindset and just following these principles, and nutrition's huge. Thank God for Tanya. I've learned so much from her journey as well. But just wanted to throw that out there for anybody who's, it's easy for you two skinny people to say, because we've actually been through some challenges ourselves.
Yeah, we both have.
I'd like to turn to maybe ask you to look down the road a little bit about expanding your collective vision and how you hope to bring some of these concepts to a much broader worldwide audience. Could you start with telling us about your initiative in Austria?
We can share a little bit about that, but part of it we can't share because we did sign an NDA, but we are expanding into Europe, and we are very excited about that. Actually, our oldest child is most likely heading over there to help us get that started. And so that is what we're working on right now. Scott and I have traveled all over, and I went to school in London for part of my college career. So always loved it over there. And our kids, we actually, in 2015, we sold our home in Oregon and bought a one-way ticket to London and took, what were they, 4, 7, and 11? Oh, we were crazy. Took them all over, and we started in the UK, and then we traveled all over Europe, and then we came back to the States. So we are definitely excited about this initiative and what we're going to be doing starting in Austria this year. So
Part of this, we just released the book, Balancing Act. And so that is in an effort to expand our message. We've worked one-on-one with hundreds of business owners, and to get the book out is something that we thought of for a while, but we're excited about the possibilities. And it's on Amazon, so we just started listing it there and got a number one seller in certain category. But yeah, so we're planning to expand to Europe through Austria. Just our brand, which is really about helping people find purpose and aligning their life and their business to that purpose. And to your point, Tom, they won't feel like they're really working. They're working, but they're loving what they're doing. And that's what we want to do. We want to help people to as many people as we can to do that. So yeah, the Europe initiative is to broaden that to that continent.
Yeah. Right before 2020, we spoke at a retreat in Greece. And then prior to that, we were in Paris. And then, of course, 2020 happened. So things got thrown off a little bit. But now we're getting everything back on. But we're really excited about it.
Guys, unfortunately, we are near the end of our time for this episode, but I did want to ask before we leave if our listeners wanted to connect with you, find out more information about the book, your consulting practice, or connect with you on various social media platforms, what might be the best way for them to do or best places for them to go?
So we have the book that just came out, and you can get it at getbalanceimpact.com. And that's probably the best place to go. Of course, we're on all the social media platforms, Scott and Tanya, Tawnya. It's an easy one.
I'm easy to find as long as you spell my name. I'm the only one on there. Yeah, Tanya Landis, Tawnya. I primarily hang out on Instagram. Scott, he's more on LinkedIn. So you can
What's
find
your
us.
Instagram handle?
It's Tanya, TAWNYA _Landis, LANDIS.
Guys, this has been just way too much fun. I wanted to thank you again for taking the time to visit with me, and I hope we can continue this conversation.
Thank you so much, Tom.